BD, after an anti-immigration protest spirals out of control, what started as a march quickly turned into targeted attacks, with shops looted and tensions boiling over in the streets. But what really triggered this sudden escalation, and why is this happening now? Stay tuned as we dive into the main story.
This is an African expat alert. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing right now on the continent of Africa. As a Black American, this is quite disturbing. Now, if you are unaware, just this past week, and it's been going on for some time, this is probably just the first one to hit the news. The South Africans have come against the Ghanaians. I mean, I watched the video, it's pretty bad. They are punching them, telling them they need to get out of their country because they're foreigners. In fact, the South African people that used to turn against the colonizer have turned against their own brothers because they do not see their brothers as part of themselves. Now, it's very rare that you would see the Spanish do this to the French. It's very rare that you would see the Canadians do this to the people in Denmark. It's very rare that you would see anything of this nature happening in Europe, but in Africa, it's a new day and it's happening right before our eyes. In fact, it got so bad. First Post reports that the Ghanaian envoy has sent a message to South Africa and said they need to have talks about this because it has gone too far. When you watch the video, it's very cringe-worthy, okay? It's a little bit disturbing, and it makes you wonder what's really happening right now in South Africa.
Yeah, that's the question. What's really going on? You know, South Africa is a beautiful place. You know, they get lots of tourism, but now it's like, you got to think about your safety, because these things can pop up. They're talking about foreigners. So if you travel here to Africa, if you lived here in Africa, I would say more than a year, right? You will start to know the local people. They would say, hey, the foreigners is coming in and rising the price. So in South Africa, this been going on for a couple years. You know, they've been feeling some type of way when people come to their country and go to, just say, decent neighborhoods, the price rise up. So I'm not sure if that's something that goes with it, but like, this is your neighbor that you're doing this to, pretty much. This is a continent. This is your brother, your sister, your neighbor that you're doing this to. So this is something that you really got to pay attention to. You don't want to be in those situations where, you know, you really got to defend yourself or something like that, and you end up in an African jail. Because yeah, this is deep. I like, for me, I always think about what would I do if I was in that situation, and it's no telling. It's no telling. But I ain't trying to get into that. But it's just like, this is something that you really got to pay attention to.
You should, because safety and risk analysis has to come first when you are thinking about relocating to the continent of Africa, okay? Now, we've been in Africa 6 years. Southeastern Africa, Tanzania and Mauritius, and that's it. These are the two countries we've lived in. Both of these countries are pretty welcoming to foreigners. I mean, you don't really get mugged or robbed. It's pretty safe. You don't have anyone beating you up and jumping you, because the Swahili Coast tends to be a pretty peaceful place with peaceful people. Mauritius is also extremely, extremely peaceful, and they welcome people to come into the country. I mean, something like this would just never happen in Mauritius. I mean, it would probably never even happen in Ghana, let's be real. Most African countries do not behave like this with their brothers and sisters. Even Nigeria and Ghana, with the, you know, quote unquote fights over jollof rice and who's better. But they are not literally taking to the streets to beat up their random neighbors and seeing them as enemies.
Yeah.
Now, some people believe that this could have been paid by other populations of people to cause dissent, but it also may not have. I don't think that really matters, even if it was, because at the end of the day, you don't have to take payment for anything. You are only doing what is in your heart to do. And this is a very wicked thing that's taking place, so much that Ghana has demanded a thorough investigation into enhanced security for its citizens. So I don't know what this means for Ghanaian and South African relations going forward, but Ghana is like, hey, we're gonna put the diplomatic pressure. We're not just gonna stand down and be like, oh yeah, just beat our people up, because they literally jumped them in the street, 5 people to 1 man, crowds and crowds of people. But South African police vowed to crack down on it as well. They said that they have pledged to identify, arrest, and prosecute all of the people involved in the attacks. Now, social media has obviously escalated these tensions, with bloggers, journalists, media personalities chiming in on what they believe is happening, leading to increased pressure on the South African government. I think that's such a good thing. This is where it's really good to have influence in the media sphere, so that you can stand up for right and wrong, so that you can stand up for people that are being oppressed and hurt. And here's the context. The attacks are happening. They're linked to border anti-foreigner sentiment in South Africa, where some blame foreigners for taking the job. So I guess these South Africans feel like the Ghanaians rule some type of industry in South Africa. I'm not sure. Somebody leave a comment down below and let us know. But this is quite disturbing, which really brings me to our mature adult intensive that happens May 3rd. Because these are the things we talk about. See, Africa is 54 very different countries. A lot of Americans think about Africa and they say, well, I'm just gonna relocate to Africa. And then you inquire a little bit more and you say, okay, well, which places? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know which country. And so then you have to probe even further and say, well, what are you looking for? How old are you? Are you retired? Are you a self-employed entrepreneur? Are you in a specific industry? Do you have your safety risk analysis? And this is how we provide a safety risk analysis. You have to look at the data. Data does not lie. You have to look and see how many unalivings are happening per capita in the countries that you're going to. If the country you're going to is number 1 on that list and you have a family, you may want to think that through, so you don't have to be trapped in a state all day. I mean, here in Mauritius, we can walk anywhere and be safe. At any time of day, nobody will harm you, nothing's gonna happen. It's just very peaceful, right? But it's not like that in every country. Some of these countries that have these huge political movements, unfortunately, you can get the spillover from that if you are in the wrong location at the wrong time. You could be just minding your business like these Ghanaians. They were probably just trying to go down the street. And honestly, I couldn't tell the difference between them and the South Africans, so maybe they just heard their accent or something. And so they were like, hey, let's jump them. And there were mobs and mobs of people doing this, which is why you need to go to www.journeywithusmove2africa.com/services. You can see a page right here so that you can get your risk analysis in order before you move to the wrong country and regret it. At least have a plan, a risk assessment that dictates, okay, this is going to be the best avenue for me. Whether you're a retiree, an investor, an entrepreneur, a digital nomad, it doesn't matter. This plan, it will never hurt you to plan, but it can hurt you to plan and fail.
In week 1, this is what we go over. We tell you to do your research, pick 3 countries that you are thinking about. Of course, we always suggest countries to the people that is in a mature adult intensive, right? We say top 3 countries, right? Make sure you do your research. Do 12 months, 2 years of research. Do these countries have protests? Just like my wife was just explaining with the unaliving, how dangerous is it? How safe is it? You get what I'm saying? And this is something very important that people really have to understand. Like, how is the leadership? Because if the leadership is corrupt, it's going to trickle down to the people. And as you see, I'm not sure about how corrupt South Africa is, but we see it. Like this is some type of obvious corruption where they're allowing people to be on the street beating people up. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not sure the prime minister or the president how like what type of things that he do, but South Africa is a big, nice country, and it's a dangerous country too. Like, to be honest. So this is why we tell people that ask us, oh, I know that you guys don't talk about South Africa. And that's one of the reasons, because we have a big family, you know, we do care about safety. So this is something that you really have to think about when you are moving abroad. Anywhere you choose is safety.
Even Europe. A place that you
like
wouldn't want to go
anywhere.
in Europe is Paris, France. Paris is known for being the most unsafe city in Europe because of all of the theft, okay? So you never want to put yourself in a situation, if you're a wise parent, you never want to put your kids in a situation where they may be unalived, where they may have to get into some kind of weird enterprise activities in a corrupt country or in a place where there's just too much similitude to America, to be quite honest. Now, that's not even it that's been happening in Africa, because we also have in Zanzibar, Tanzania, the unaliving of Ashley Janae. So we have all of these things happening at one time where expats truly have to sit and think. It's not like 2020 anymore when we left. It's not like 2015 before we left, where things are really happening on the continent. You don't know who's pulling the strings, but the end result and the fruit of it is that people are being either unalived or hurt in a serious way. And so the only way that we can know them is to judge them by their fruits. This is what the Bible teaches. So it doesn't really matter how great the tourism, how cutesy the lions, how wonderful. If the fruits are reaping pain and death,
That's
then
deep.
you know that the head of these places has to be pain and death.
Yeah.
Now, the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy. So as you come to Africa, I want you to be very discerning, okay? I want you to understand that everything is not just smiles and giggles and rainbows. I want you to be a little bit more mature. Like, think like a mature adult and see what's really happening. This is the only way that you can have a successful life on the continent. I mean, we've been here for 6 years and we'll continue to be here, Yah willing. And we've been doing it because we choose the countries that are safest at that time. Now, countries change, especially in Africa. Things change when a president changes. Things could literally flip upside down with the snap of a finger, and you need to be aware of that. You need to know the geopolitical concerns. You need to know the wartime concerns. You need to know the trade alliances, and you need to realistically know what your life is going to be like in the country that you choose. Now, some better alternatives if you love Southern Africa would obviously be in Namibia, Botswana. Maybe you could check out Angola, but on the West Coast, Senegal as well. Senegal is visa-free for Americans, and they have a huge tech hub out there. Of course, they speak French, so there's going to be a little bit of a language barrier. They speak French out here in Mauritius as well, but you have so many options. There are certain countries that should probably just be for visitation, and others that are better for 10 to 20 years stability.
Yeah, that's good. And the choice is yours. The choice is yours. You are going to be walking. You get what I'm saying? You have to make that next step your best step. Like, nobody can tell you, hey, go to South Africa, and then you be in situations, or go to Tanzania and you be in certain situations. That is your choice. You have to do the research. You have to really have the understanding and have the discernment and the wisdom to move properly. The choice is really yours. So please make the right choice. Do your research. Talk to the right people. Consult with the right people that has the experience, that went through things, that is mature enough to know when situations happen, you know, you shouldn't, or I guess I could say, avoid situations.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. Africa is a little bit different, but you just got to know how to move around.
Yeah.
And that's on every single level.
Yeah, check out the list of the most safe countries. Check out the list of the least corrupt countries. These should really ideally be the only places that you are living in long term. Again, you can visit anywhere. I mean, Tanzania is gorgeous, South Africa is gorgeous, but they just may not be places for you to make a 10 to 20-year plan for the generations that are coming after you. Like this video, share this with 50 people, put it in all your Facebook groups, all of those types of things where you value truth and you value safety and you value discernment. If those are 3 of your things, then you know, that's probably why you're on this channel. Hello, shalom. And I think that's it for this video. I will leave some links in the description so you can see what's actually going on both sides, because I'm so happy that Africans are coming out also about both of these topics. I just love that about African people, whether they're in Ghana, Nigeria, they could be in London, the UK, the diaspora, and the African people who are on the continent and enjoy justice and enjoy righteousness. They are chiming into these 2 topics to tell you, as a foreign American, what's really happening on the ground in the continent of Africa.
Yeah, you gotta know what's going on the ground before you actually make a decision to move here or even travel. Because just imagine you go to South Africa and all this is happening, and you want to go to the city and just look around, and all of a sudden this stuff happens and you don't know what's going on. And you're like, hey, what's going on? They hear your accent. You just never know. So that is important. So guys, make sure you check the links in the description. Make sure you like the video, and we will talk to you in the next one. Shalom.
Shalom.
Second issue, it is that most of our politicians have got business interests across the continent, corruptly so. Meaning what then happens is that those business interests, they make them to want to undermine the well-being of South African citizens simply because they want to safeguard their business interests across the continent. So the crisis that South Africans are facing, their own government is failing to prioritize them, to protect them, and their own government is creating a conducive environment for the exploitation of migrants. And it is something that is blatantly clear. Go to any farm, go to any restaurant, go to construction sites, you can see who's working there. And I want to also address this notion to say for migrants are doing work or jobs that South Africans do not want to do. That is a blatant lie that is peddled by people who want to really get South Africans out of the job market. Because if you look at the lines, the queues, it is mostly South Africans who are queuing up for cleaning jobs, for as many jobs as possible. However, the problem, it is this capitalist system that is enabled by government. And the last thing on this issue, Katlego, we only have 832 immigration officers in the country that can legally go to any company and ascertain whether the people that are employed in these farms, construction sites, and restaurants have got the valid documents. Only 832. The president realized this in the SONA, and he said he's going to employ 10,000 labor inspectors. However, the labor inspector does not have the mandate to check the legal status of foreigners in South Africa. That is why our view was to say the government was toying with the emotions of the people, because immigration problems can never be solved by labor inspectors.